Major court cases are star witnesses today.
Murder defendant Charles Brown takes the stand today, and this.
The defendants take the stand in the Don Denman extortion trial. I'm Scott Wallace. I have a live report for you coming up on Action 4 at 5.
A grass fire threatens some very expensive homes on the city's northwest side. And we'll have this story.
Oklahoma City officials say they're not exactly dumping the annual spring cleanup, but there will be some changes this year. I'm Ed Stewart. I'll have that story coming up on Action 4 at 5 o'clock.
And union officials are upset about a new Supreme Court ruling. They claim it will encourage union busting.
That and much more on Action 4 at 5.
In Oklahoma City, it's 5 o'clock. Do you know where this child is?
First in television news, this is Action 4 at 5.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jerry Adams.
And I'm George. More critical.
And the city wants your help with its spring cleanup.
Edwards in your corner when we come back.
Perhaps you'll want to be in the corner of a 13-year-old Choctaw girl who needs a liver transplant. I'm Brad Edwards. We'll talk about it on In Your Corner coming up on Action 4.
Their meetings, I'll tell you.
That's what I hear.
Linda Kavanaugh next on Action 4 at 5:30. Join us then.
Have a nice night.
First in television news, this is Action 4 at 5:30.
Good evening. I'm Jerry Adams.
And I'm Linda Carroll.
Shul is ready to return to the sky. And Action 4's business reporter Kurt Autry takes a look at preparation at Oklahoma City's Will Rogers Airport.
In 8 days, the traffic at Will Rogers World Airport will pick up considerably. After a 22-month absence, Braniff International will return to Oklahoma City. For the past week, Oklahoma's air traffic controllers have watched the Braniff 727s come and go, practicing their new routes. Inside the airport, construction crews are busy preparing counter space and rebuilding terminals to accommodate Braniff customers. All along, the airline had been paying rental fees to the Oklahoma City airport by subleasing to other carriers. But now Braniff has reclaimed its old spot. The returning airline does not resemble the old Braniff. Company officials are working on a new marketing strategy.
You're looking at a new Braniff. We've taken a different marketing approach. We've completely refurbished our aircraft. You'll note we've gone to one color type. The interiors have been completely redone. And our primary objective is to provide the finest air service in the industry. I think Braniff's going to accomplish that.
The new Braniff is toned down considerably. Even the conspicuous flying colors have been replaced by plain white jets with red and blue trim. The airline is about 30% of its original size, but Braniff is confident its leaner frame can work to its advantage. Kurt Autry, Action 4.
Coming up, 3 children die of Reye's syndrome, and we'll have this story.
How will a new health insurance plan affect the way you are treated? I'm Steve Newman. Join me as we continue our Newsbreaker series, What Price Health, coming up on Action 4.
I'd even pay the taxes on it.
They'll have to.
We'll see you at 10:30 tonight.
Good night. Coming up on Action 4 tonight.
A night of important decisions.
A jury must decide the fate of a man accused of killing a state trooper.
While the president decides the fate of Marines in Beirut.
Prove the possibility of carrying out their mission. Then, yes, that would be a reason for sending them in.
And unions react to a fateful decision affecting the labor movement.
Those stories plus highlights from 2 basketball games that'll have a fateful effect of the Big 8 race.
Next on Action 4 tonight.
Oklahoma City, do you know where this child is?
First in television news, this is Action 4 tonight.
And as Action 4 continues, we'll explain how that ruling affects local companies and their reorganization plans.
Warm weather and high winds continue to fuel area grass fires.
We'll look into some other efforts being made to stop the escalating cost of health care.
Thank you very much. Next in sports, a tough shooting night for Oklahoma State in basketball.
But let me tell you what, they're dancing in the streets of Norman as the Sooners near a Big 8 championship. Bob Berry, JR, is next, so stay with us.
Coming up on Action 4 at 5, Senator Mike Combs gets a new trial.
Now, what happens to that Senate seat? And we'll have this story. A huge fire destroys an entire apartment complex in Tulsa, and we'll have this.
The Oklahoma City Planning Commission listened to arguments why Eastern Avenue should or should not be renamed to Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue. I'm Ed Stewart. I'll have details coming up on Action 4 at 5 o'clock.
That and more on Action 4 at 5.
This is Channel 4 in Oklahoma City. It's 5 o'clock. Do you know where this child is?
First in television news, this is Action 4 at 5.
Farmers big bucks.
And this apartment fire is one of the largest in Tulsa's history.
Are these silver dollars really worth $48? I'm Brad Edwards. We'll find out on In Your Corner coming up on Action 4. I need my own.
All right, Linda Kavanaugh will help us out at 5:30. Join us coming up.
Have a nice night.
First in television news, this is Action 4 at 5:30.
And as they're trying to...
Keeping healthcare costs in check doesn't always start in the ledger book. Sometimes it starts in the kitchen. I'm Steve Newman. Join us as we continue our Newsbreaker series, What Price Health? Coming up on Action 4.
That B-52, you know?
Only if they've got a lot of room, huh? We'll see you tonight at 10.
Good night.
GM is now going to have to pay about $2 million less in local taxes. We'll find out what that agreement will mean for the local company. Local reaction to Dallas ambulance policy that resulted in the death of an elderly resident. A new computer information service designed to make life more fun, and we'll have this story.
In a few months, expect to see a bigger and better Will Rogers World Airport. I'm Ed Stewart. I'll have that story coming up on Action 4 at 5 o'clock.
And the campaign push continues. That and more on Action 4 at 5.
It's 5 o'clock. Do you know where this child is?
First in television news, this is Action 4 at 5.
Good evening. Coming up next on Action 4, wet weather sloshes through Oklahoma. Randy Aldis has the details.
An early morning fire could be arson.
The governor's mansion fund is probed.
And Jesse Jackson gets the nod from Chicago's #1 man. These stories and more coming up next on Action 4.
In Oklahoma City, do you know where this child is?
First in television news, this is Action 4 at 5.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dan Slocum.
And I'm Bella Shaw. The rain keeps coming tonight. Let's check.
Scary heart commercial that's causing some controversy. We'll have more right after this. Says dreary and damp weather is in store for us.
A more of the same kind of forecast after these messages.
Thanks, Randy. Today in sports, the close games continue to mark the exciting NCAA basketball tournament.
But Oklahoma has lost all 3 of its teams entered. Bob Berry Jr. is next with all of the sports, so stay with us.
A moment.
We'll be sticking by to bring you up on all the different kinds of weather we have this evening.
Indeed, and we'll be back at 10. Hope you'll join us then. Good night.
Are we in danger of getting cancer from the water we drink? Many officials think it's possible.
Sand Spring officials think it is, and we'll tell you why as we look at their water.
And we'll look at how Oklahomans feel about smoking and non-smoking sections being kept on major airline carriers.
And we'll tell you what impact OU's day in front of the Supreme Court could have on college football.
Those stories, plus the latest results from the Oklahoma caucus.
Next on Action 4 tonight.
Channel 4 in Oklahoma City. It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where this child is?
First in television news, this is Action 4 tonight.
Good evening, I'm Linda Cavanaugh.
And I'm Jerry Adams. Well, tomorrow, the University of Oklahoma will be involved. Details as Action 4 continues.
Want to sue the state? Well, it may be tougher than fighting City Hall. We'll tell you why.
And why OU is running a case past the highest court in the land.
Williams will tell us if more snow is on the way.
And weather permitting, there should be a heavy turnout for the Illinois primary tomorrow. The reason why is coming up. To hear about that 56, I'll tell you that.
Oh, Marcus Dupree had a good night as USFL action continues.
What would you pay for a Dallas franchise, Cowboy franchise? The team was sold today. Bob Berry is next with details.
Kind of went down the old pike,
right.
huh?
Maybe we'll see it in the morning. You can't ever tell.
Down the pike.
We know that you all been wondering about it all day.
So as Action 4 continues, we'll tell you if the Swallows came back to Capistrano.
That's the day I pray that you come back to me.
Buzzard ever make it back to Hinckley, Ohio?
I don't know.
I mean, they were supposed to get back there, too.
The pigeons got back to our porch.
The best of Carson is next, and how can he follow this, for goodness sakes? Glenn Campbell will be his guest, and we'll see you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Day of execution for a convicted killer while in another courtroom.
A federal judge dismisses the stock fraud case against Barry Switzer and 6 other defendants. I'm Scott Wallace. Details ahead on Action 4.
And former House Speaker Dan Draper is back in court. We'll tell you why.
And we'll tell you why married couples may be interested in a bill before the State House.
Those stories, plus the reason why some people at the Capitol are mad.
And an update on an apartment fire. Next on Action 4 at 5.
Oklahoma City, it's 5 o'clock. Do you know where this child is?
First in television news, this is Action 4 at 5.
Good evening, I'm Jerry Adams.
And I'm George Tomic. There have been a number of important court decisions made today, starting with one affecting a convicted mass murderer. The Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals has denied convicted killer Roger Dale Stafford any more stays of execution.
His co-defendants will not have to pay.
Yvonne Cogger was sworn in as Oklahoma's second woman to serve on the state's highest court. Justice Hodges for 11.5 years before she was appointed to the court herself. Some people are worried.
The feds to investigate his personal affairs. Sound unusual? It is. We'll explain as Action 4 continues.
Plus, we'll hear why the Americans are not to blame for that collision at sea.
And we'll show you a presidential candidate named Gary Hart trying to win the hearts of New Yorkers.
Dallas
relations with this country, while Ed Meese wants to be involved.
Activity. It's mostly the heavy activity still in Texas, but it is moving toward the northeast. Will be moving across the river.
And the NCAA basketball tournament continues tonight. Bob Berry has details. He's coming up.
We'll be there. You ought to see it. It's really good. A lot of tickets.
Thank you a lot, Bob.
Well, if you have small children at home, you know how hard it is to keep them out of almost anything.
Well, as Action 4 at 5 continues, Dr. Red Duke will show you what to do if your child becomes poisoned. Wait, Dr. Red Duke will be featured on Nightly News coming up here at 6 o'clock.
Oh, what's it?
All right. And featuring Linda Kavanaugh on 5:30, Action 4 News coming up. Join us coming up.
Not unlikely to do so, right? Not on Nightly News.
No, just on our 5:30 show, just a little one here.
Have a nice evening.
First in television news, this is Action 4 at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Jerry Adams.
And I'm Linda Kavanaugh. Money worries are again circulating throughout the state capitol. We'll tell you why later in our newscast.
But we begin tonight with stories on several important court cases, two concerning present or former lawmakers, one concerning
a soul-winning workshop. To celebrate, Church of Christ members from around the country met in Tulsa, or more appropriate, the lack of it. As Action 4 continues, we'll talk to Senate President Pro Tem Marvin York about those money worries.
We'll also look at a bill that could affect married life.
And we'll tell you why it may be tough to find a job this summer.
About a turnaround in the state's economic picture, but the Oklahoma job outlook apparently is not improving all that quickly. Action 4's Jeff Fowler report.
Make water.
Whatever.
Yeah, we do have rain on the way. As a matter of fact, some heavy activity to our south. So let's take a look at radar. On radar, very heavy storms in southwestern part of Oklahoma. One of concern is actually across the Red River in Texas. Let's take a close-up look of that area now. Actually, the one in Texas is moving northeast. This is the core at about 25 to 30 miles per hour. This will carry it on into Tillman and Cotton counties probably within the next hour or so, and a warning is in effect for the county just south of the Red River in Texas, and other clouds and showers have moved on to the north. Well, here's the way our current conditions look here in Oklahoma. We do have easterly winds through most of Oklahoma to the north of a frontal system, a warm front. Winds around 17 to 20 miles per hour, and temperatures range from 48 in the Gage-Woodward area to 71 for the warmest over at McAllister. We're at 61 here at Oklahoma City, mostly cloudy skies across the state at this hour. Our national map shows a low-pressure center not far from Lubbock, Texas, the warm front extending eastward through that area, covering southern sections of Oklahoma. A band of snow from Wyoming south all the way down into northern New Mexico. Looks like maybe 8 inches of new snow in some of the ski areas of Colorado and northern New Mexico. That'll be good news for skiers. Rain for us mostly. We may see a little bit of snow in northwestern parts. On our satellite picture, a very good shot of the midsection of the country. Shows this cloud mass back to our west. Pretty cloudy across the state now. This storm center back in the Panhandle will move east, hugging the Red River. And here's the way we think that map will look tomorrow morning. That low would be pretty close to Wichita Falls, Childress area. As the day progresses, it will move off to the east, spreading rain eastward and bringing in some snows in northwestern sections. This primarily will be early in the day and also again tomorrow night. So we're watching for mainly rain shower activity and a few heavy thunderstorms way down in southern Oklahoma. Our statistics for Oklahoma City are 42 and a 65. Normal's 39 and 63 with records of 13 and 86. Right now, well, we're at 61, humidity 44%, the pressure 2978 and steady, a cloudy sky, easterly wind averaging 23 miles per hour. The forecast for tonight, rain spraying over the state, some thunderstorms in the extreme south and eastern parts, rain mixed with snow in the Panhandle late tonight, and for Friday, rain and snow in the northwest, rain elsewhere, cold with north winds 10 to 15 miles per hour across the state, and for Saturday, decreasing clouds from the west and rain should be moving out of eastern sections. For the metropolitan area tonight, be cloudy, rather breezy, mild temperatures with some scattered showers around, and tomorrow rain and colder with north winds 10 to 15. Lows tomorrow morning 30s and 40s, highs tomorrow only 30s in the extreme northwest to 50s southeast. For Oklahoma City, we'll see low 40s in the morning and only mid 40s for highs tomorrow afternoon, so a definite change.
Okay, Jim.
Coming up in sports, Bob Berry will have the pairings for tonight's NCAA basketball game.
And we'll have a preview of a weekend sporting event coming up in Oklahoma City.
Maryland versus Illinois, Kentucky versus Louisville. Then in the NIT and the women's NIT tournament, Oklahoma. The University of Oklahoma women played Tennessee Chattanooga. It's the first time the OU women have ever been in a postseason basketball tournament. Veteran Lyle Alzado has said he will play at least one more season with the Los Angeles Raiders of the NFL. Vehicles. Among 600 entries, you'll be able to see two major...
Southwest. That one storm now is southeast of Vernon, Texas, or almost straight south of Davidson. It's moving northeastward, so it'll be carried on into Tillman County the next hour. Meanwhile, here's the way we think things will look for Saturday morning, some improvement. The storm's still going to be moving pretty far to the east and clearing from the west. And the 5-day forecast, specifically for Oklahoma City, well, we have rain in the forecast for Friday. We may even see some rain for a few hours early Sunday morning, or rather early Saturday morning with a bit of a warm-up. And then Monday and Tuesday looks like back into a wet period. So 3 out of 5 days, that's not too bad, I guess, if you want rain.
Okay, I do have that story here. If you want me to read it.
Would you rather I read this?
No, you go ahead and read it.
Okay. Well, you take the natural elegance of Natasha Kinski, you add the comic genius of Dudley Moore, and you'd think you'd have the perfect ingredients for a great movie.
I wanted to read first. Imagine waking up with your bed on fire, holy moly, and a rat licking your face. Well, it happened to 22-year-old Vicki Downey of Toledo, Ohio. That's what I pronounced Toledo one time back in Duncan. And she's so grateful to the rat that she's buying it a steak dinner. The rodent is Downey's pet rat, Yentl. She says Yentl was sleeping with her last week when her electric blanket short-circuited and started a mattress fire. Yentl licked Downey's face until she woke up. Seeing the fire, Downey grabbed Yentl, unplugged the blanket, and called the fire department. She says Yentl saved her life and she'll never forget her for it.
Bob says he'd rather die.
I hear that.
Feature on Dr. Red Duke coming up next on Nightly News. See that and then come back with us at 10.
Good night. Good evening. Coming up on Action 4 tonight, a pipe bomb found on El Reno prison grounds.
And a civil suit is dismissed against OU football coach Barry Switzer and 6 businessmen.
Dan Draper Jr. attempts to get another retrial for his vote fraud charges.
And a scare for security guards guarding the White House guest French President Mitterrand. Those stories and more coming up next on Action 4 tonight.
Channel 4 in Oklahoma City. It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where this child is?
First in television news, this is Action 4 Tonight.
Good evening, I'm Jerry Adams.
And I'm Linda Cavanaugh. OU football coach Barry Switzer has reason to be happy tonight. A civil suit has been dismissed against him and 6 other businessmen.
More on that stock fraud trial in a moment, but first, the word on some threatening weather in southern Oklahoma. Jim?
We have a new warning. First of all, on radar, I'm going to show you the activity as we see it now. There's very heavy thunderstorms moving out of the Altus area. They're approaching Roosevelt now. This had 1-inch hail reported in it as it moved across Altus Air Force Base. That's the same storm. Another storm, we have a severe thunderstorm warning until 10:45 for the eastern half of Jackson and the western half of Kiowa County. That storm is approaching Roosevelt, just southwest of there. Do a little tornado symbol, a circle around it. We're not quite sure whether there's one there or not, but this is where it was a few minutes ago as far as radar.
He's until April 12th to file briefs before he makes a decision on whether Dan Draper will get a new trial on vote fraud charges. The former House Speaker was back in court today. Eubanks approached the switch in location at the request of defense. A federal judge has ruled that they can keep more than $600,000 in stock profits. The government has 60 days to appeal the judge's decision.
A federal appeals court in Denver has overturned his death prison over an explosive device.
And more convictions in the Massachusetts gang rape trial. Stay with us.
Bomb could have been obtained inside the prison. And bomb squad members are still trying to figure out how a 20-millimeter shell ended up here in Oklahoma City again tonight. Opponents to the bill say the state will be giving a weapon to vengeful wives if a bill to allow the filing of rape charges against a spouse becomes law.
Tonight, it appears the state budget office overestimated revenues for the month of April. And now Oklahoma's faced with a $17 million shortfall for the coming months. This is nothing more than a guessing game.
Well, Yvonne Cogger is now Oklahoma Supreme Court Justice Yvonne Cogger. Oklahoma.
Jim will have more on that when we get back.
Kind of cool.
Well, you did have a full show, as
yes.
you said. Olympic wrestling trials began tonight in Stillwater.
And the regional semifinal action resumed tonight in the NCAA basketball tournament. Bob Berry is next.
Oklahoma.
And one lady came up afterwards and said specifically that she's a fan of yours.
What else my mother said?
I said, why'd you drive all the way to Shawnee to say that?
Well, that was very nice of her. Obviously an intelligent woman.
I don't know.
University of Iowa wrestling coach Dan Gable says Oklahoma 3. By the way, 2 more NCAA regional semifinals and 2 more.
May be a bit shaken tonight. Security for sure was after a man walked up to the Capitol gates and pulled out a 3.5-foot samurai sword gun. No one at the White House was hurt. All right, let's have an update of the weather now, and here's Jim.
Okay, we've just updated our computer to reflect the tornado warning, which was extended to include southern Grady, northwestern Stevens County until 10:45, a possible tornado just southwest of Marlow now, moving northeast, and a severe thunderstorm warning for eastern Jackson's western Kiowa County. The thunderstorm now is right smack dab in the middle of Kiowa County, also moving northeast.
25. This is Action 4 Today in Oklahoma.
Good morning, we're the McKay.
Good evening. Coming up next on Action 4 tonight, Gary Hart handles Montana's Democratic caucus.
And here in town, a search for suspects in a mystery murder.
Extensive fire damage at a paint and body shop.
And a controversy swirling in Stillwater over student rights.
These stories, plus some discouraging details on the weather coming up.
Stay with us.
Channel 4 in Oklahoma City. It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where this child is?
First in television news, this is Action 4 Tonight.
Find trouble paying their tuition in the future at OU.
and also a college controversy in Stillwater over gay rights. Kurt Autry has that story when we come back. Hot time in Hawaii tonight. We'll tell you why right after this.
Timing for that rain will be mainly during tomorrow morning. Then it should start to move on out of here by, say, sometime during Monday afternoon. Meanwhile, here comes that next storm digging down across the Rocky Mountains. That could turn out to be a rather strong storm system. And on the 5-day forecast, thunderstorms tomorrow morning. A good chance for rain now, it looks like, on Tuesday, a high of only 45 degrees. And temperatures will be bouncing around here now during the next several days. And more rain on tap on Thursday. So it's a very active spring-like pattern. And Steve Newman, they'll have their annual Severe Weather Call-In show. If you have any questions about severe weather, call Jim live next Saturday night at 6:30 after our early evening newscast. Tomorrow night, the basketball team in Nash, Oklahoma at 7:30. Tuesday night, we'll be traveling up to Red Rock at 7:30. So we have a busy week coming up.
And your record now?
About 14-3. We lost last week.
Okay. Coming up next on Action 4, the winning was easy in Montana's Democratic caucus.
But just casting ballots proved difficult in El Salvador. More on that country's elections after these messages. Pacific Northwest in college basketball.
Bob Berry Jr. is next with the answers to the blank spaces on your NCAA basketball bracket. The sports is next in 2 minutes.
Outdoor Outlook.
National Cattlemen's Association. Hats, bumper stickers, and everything else.
She's a popular lady.
Ben and Butch McCain, of course, at 6 o'clock in the morning. This crew will be back next weekend, but it won't look the same around here.
That's right, a whole new look. This is the last show from the south side of Studio B here on Britain, and you'll find out what we're talking about tomorrow morning with Ben and Butch. Hope to see you next week.
Good night, everybody.